Welcome everyone to this Talk to the Animals Facebook Live, and we have Miss Viv Adcock and myself, Sir Wynne-Jones.
Hello, everybody.
Awesome. And today we're going to be talking about animals and healing. And, is your pet a healer, basically? What do you have to say about this, Viv? You got some personal things sort of going on right now with Bella?
She's amazing, because when I taught, I think when I facilitated my very first online Start the Conversation class, the poor dog, she just had screaming diarrhea. And I mean screaming because she would just yelp. And we were halfway through, I don't know what day it was, and all of a sudden it's like, I've got to go. And greyhounds have this weird thing called the scream of death. And it's like, they're very sensitive dogs. If anything lands on them, they make this scream like they're dying, and it's kind of like that scream that your kid gives you when your heart stops and you think something really awful is happening and just a leaf's landed on your dog. They're such drama queens in that respect. But this poor dog, she was yelping at the top of her voice while I was on the Zoom, and I'm like, excuse me, I know I'm facilitating the start the conversation class, but I've got to go. And what we worked out was nearly every time there's a big shift that's occurring, her body facilitates something, and I still haven't fully gotten to the bottom of this. So if I'm even watching, like a 7-day event with Access Consciousness, the 7-day intensives, same thing, by about day 3 or day 4, her stomach will start rumbling. She'll start going and eating food, and then she'll want to be out in the garden for hours. So I know this is kind of a different way of looking at healing, but it's such, to start with, it was like, oh, the dog's eating something, how we jump to conclusion about what the animals are doing, that, oh, she's just eaten an off bone, or it's like, no, it happened way too often for me. And then I realized, hang on, it's always when we're doing class. It's always she senses the changes. And I wonder also what she's contributing to the change. So that was kind of a different tangent with healing animals. So if you have any questions or have any awareness or that you could ask me about Bella, I'd be very grateful. Because sometimes when it's your own dog, it's like your own kids. It's kind of harder to see.
Yeah, totally. I totally get that. Like, I wonder as well, for anyone who's watching, like, maybe as well find a buddy that you can actually play with these tools and these questions with, that, like if you guys have got, I don't know, dogs and you go walking together or something, or even, it doesn't have to be that situation, but find someone, like a question buddy for your pets, because they are very much like children, and we get a little bit blindsided when it comes to our children and our pets. I think Gary said, everyone thinks their dog and their cat is the best thing in the universe, and no one else cares.
Yeah, look at my 9,000 photographs of what my dog did on the weekend.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean, I think as well, one of the things, and we've talked about this before, but like animals, like being and not being from like conclusion. And so like, as you were saying, Viv, like, I think that's so important, not to sort of like project what you think might be happening to an animal. And one of the things that I sort of have noticed, like, I haven't been that well the last few days myself personally, but I've been aware of like a process of change, but like also noticing this desire for me to get to some kind of like, golden awareness of like what's going on. Whereas like for me, it created a lot of ease being around the animals, because they don't really function like that. They're just like being, and they're not functioning from, well, we need to find an answer to what's going on here. They're just like, okay, this is what's happening right now, and how can I be with it, basically, which is a really different space to like approach it from.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because I think one of the downsides to having a mind is we overthink and overcomplicate and need to have an answer and a solution and fix everything rather than just being. And, you know, she doesn't have a point of view if she's got diarrhea. She doesn't have a point of view if she doesn't eat her dinner. She just deals with it. You know, she'll go off to her bed and lay down. And then when she needs to go out, it's like a run to the door and it's like, excuse me, got to let the dog out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that part of it is also, you know, like you say, us not coming to conclusion about it being a bad thing or a wrong thing, or that we're missing something. Because I can get a bit OCD with that with her, you know, the overprotection of your child type thing. So, and that doesn't help her process whatever whatever she's needing to do at the time. So thank you. That's given me a lot more space already, just hearing you say that.
Cool. And
Mm,
I mean, one of the other things that I heard about, animals specifically like dogs and cats is that, for example, cats have an ability to, like basically perceive entities and sometimes
mm,
like take entities off people, or they'll hang around people that have entities to sort of, let them know that there's entities there, or like they have this basically ability with entities, and dogs have an ability to like take things out of people's bodies.
mm,
So, and one of the things that I sort of thought about that was as well, then, like, for example, my dog Buster has got some like lumps, like around his throat and on his chest and stuff. And we've been aware like for a while that it's like something that, he's at some point like taken out of someone or something. And, it's that thing then of going, okay, but like to change this, it's like, he doesn't really seem to have any desire in his world to change it. It's like it's us who want to change it. So
yeah.
it's, I guess it's also that thing of looking at it from, well, what's actually going on here, and what does the animal actually desire, and what is the animal actually aware of? And I think that's part of basically having a conversation with your animal, is getting a little bit more clear about that, because there might be
Mm.
that sets you and the animal free.
Yeah, and yeah, very much so. And I think a lot of people that do have dogs, you know, maybe a question you could ask your dog is, well, are you a healing animal? Are you? I mean, horses can be healing. There are all sorts of animals that are healing animals, and not all animals are. But if you find that they, you know, get problems, ailments, physical injuries, sicknesses, diseases, that type of thing, instead of coming to that conclusion of, oh, let's rush it off to the vet, which I'm not saying don't take it to the vet, but just asking them that question, because often acknowledging them, if that's what they're doing, can begin the change with whatever the disease is or whatever's going on for them. So it is such a different way to look at things. And I ruptured 2 discs in my back, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and I was actually in the UK. And I was house sitting for a friend of mine with these 2 cats. And I was in this big farmhouse, but these 2 cats, one of them was always either on my bed, and one of them insisted on laying on the pillow above my head the whole time. I kept pushing this cat off my pillow. I'm like, gross, I don't want a cat bum and cat fur on my pillow. Every time I pushed him off or tried to just nudge him down, like between the doona and myself, and get him on the bed, he'd like, no, I'm laying right here. And they literally, it was like they were nurses. One of them was in the bedroom with me the whole time for about 5 days straight. They just took it in turns. So it was incredible. They even
Yeah.
brought me a bird home one day, brought it up to my bedroom.
Yeah, that's probably what they'd do if there was like another sick cat, they'd be like, "Yeah, here's a bird to munch on." Like,
Here's some food.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I love that. That's one of the most nurturing things that I can remember about cats as well, is like just laying down and having a cat like somewhere
Mm,
on your body, just that purring and the sort of way that sound goes throughout your whole body. It's like it has a
yeah.
very kind of like a healing energy about it. Yeah, cool. And did you have something else? Were you about to say
No,
something?
I was just going to ask you if, because you said you've been a bit off these last few days, how have the dogs been with you?
Yeah, I mean, one of them stayed with me like most of the night last night, which was really great. And I think just like for me as well, when I'm having stuff going on and changing, there's a lot of other things going on as well. And when I have like connection with an animal, and especially like physical contact, it basically just kind of like removes everything else, and I'm able just to be there with me and the
Mm.
animal. It's really it just makes things a lot more ease for me, which I guess is something that I'm really grateful for. About that's I guess an ability that I see is like a healing ability, is to kind of like remove everything that doesn't really matter and allow you to see more of what is.
Yeah, and that just what you touched on then also, there's that beautiful simultaneity of gifting and receiving. So the dog comes to you and just, just lays on the bed, but I bet there's a lot more going on for any of our listeners or watchers tonight that, if you've got an animal with you, sometimes they just want to be with you, and other times I wonder what else is going on, and it's like, okay, so what am I perceiving here? What am I receiving? What is it that you're gifting? And your position then, and the same for me with the cats, it's like there is this beautiful, unspoken, acknowledged energy of this healing that is going backwards and forwards, but it's not definable. It's not cut outable and provable, but there is definitely an exchange going on where both parties are gifting and receiving.
Yeah, and I remember seeing I think it was like it was either I think it was a story of a maybe it was a story about a video that we was in the last talk to the animals class that I did with you and Susie, and it was basically about a herd of I think it was like lions, and one of them had like injured itself or something, and the all the animals were doing like everything they could to take care of it and
Mm.
look after it and make sure that it was like going okay. And then it got to a point where they realized that basically it could no longer go on, and if they stayed they would endanger like their own lives staying. So
Mm.
they don't do it from like stupidity, which I think a lot of people do in those situations of like just things because that's what you're supposed to, whatever. Like they're very kind of practical about it, and I've noticed that with animals as well. Like if they're done, they're just done and they're off,
Mm.
and they're okay,
Mm.
I'm done. I'm not just going to hang around because you want me to still be here or something, like they're quite, they're just sort of to the point, which I really like as well.
Yeah, no, no trauma and drama.
Yeah. 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 Um,
Cool.
yeah. Well, anything else you wanted to add for today's conversation?
No, I think it's mainly the acknowledgement. It's like, okay, are you asking your pets, are you a healing animal, like I said
Yeah.
earlier? And just acknowledgement is one of these unsung heroes, because the moment you acknowledge something, it can become greater. So if your animal is desiring to contribute to you, or, those times when you're sitting and you're feeling a bit sad and the dog comes and puts their head on your lap, I mean, that's an obvious sign that the animal is actually aware of where you're at in your life or in your day, and it's designed to contribute something to your world. So just being open to that gifting and receiving with no agenda, no point of view, no conclusion attached to it, just being, like you were saying, Saul, with your dog last night, just being with them in that space and acknowledging that it's like the animal is being received in a very different way. It's like they know that you are receiving them in a different way. They're able to contribute.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. So if you guys, that are listening, if you can, like, if you acknowledge what your pet or, the animal in your life, like it doesn't have to be a pet. It could be a bird sitting on the window. It could
Mm.
be a ant. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, to acknowledge the contribution that they are, and, allow it to be greater. And also, I guess, the contribution that you can also be to animals and their bodies. And yeah, thanks, Viv. It's been
Yeah.
fun, and thanks, guys, for watching. And yeah, everyone's been enjoying it. So we'll have plenty more for you. We'll be back next week with a new topic. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Saul. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.